For those who may not be familiar with it, the Teddy Ruxpin TV video pack was an accessory made exclusively for the 1998 Teddy Ruxpin toy produced by Yes Entertainment. Once set up, it allows the Teddy Ruxpin toy to interact with specially coded VHS tapes in much the same way the original audio cassette stories worked. The VHS tapes themselves were basically re-releases of the 1980s High Tops videos, but with the addition of special voiceovers for Yes Teddy. Before we get started, I want to clarify some of the things you'll need to make this all work. First, this is proprietary, so you'll need a 1998 Yes Entertainment Teddy Ruxpin. So don't try hooking this up to 1980s Worlds of Wonder Teddy, 1990s Playskool Teddy, 2006 Backpack Toys Teddy, or 2017 Teddy. Secondly, you'll need a VCR with composite or component video and audio outputs. Simply put, you'll need a VCR with those multicolored jacks on them. Composite is the standard yellow for video, red and white for audio configuration, while component configurations will have 3 different colored video ports, green, red, and blue, and the 2 aforementioned white and red audio ports. It's important you have both of these audio ports. Some VCRs only have the white audio port, as the red port is the one that connects to the TV pack. If your VCR only supports coaxial output, the old school screw-on port, you'll need an adapter to make this all work. Likewise, you'll need a TV with matching input jacks. So long as you've bought a TV in the last 15 years or so, you should be fine. Finally, you'll need 10, that's right, 10 AA batteries. Why so many? Well, you'll need 4 just to get Teddy talking, and unless you're lucky enough to have a compatible 9-volt power adapter lying around, you'll need 6 more AA's to power the little box you're plugging everything into. Okay, now that we've got everything together, let's unbox the TV video pack itself. As you can see, we have a slew of documentation and a plethora of cables. Don't worry, we're going to break this all down piece by piece and show you exactly how to set this all up. First, we have the instructions pamphlet. This is a basic overview of how to connect and operate the TV video pack. You've got a packing list, setup guide, and troubleshooting tips. They even show you how to insert the batteries and recommend specific models of AC adapters you can buy that are compatible with it. In a lot of ways, this reminds me of the original instructional pamphlets that accompanied Worlds of Wonder Teddy back in the day. Next, we have our 90-day warranty card. This is pretty standard fare. Basically, if you bought a faulty TV pack or if it fails on you before the first 90 days are out, you can send it in for a replacement model. Again, this reminded me of the warranty cards that came with 1980s Teddy and Grubby. Finally, we have an activity book. This is by far the most interesting piece of paperwork that comes with the set. Just about every page, including the cover, can be colored in. We've got hidden picture puzzles, a which of these fobs is not like the other puzzle, a quick lesson in how to draw Teddy himself, which may be a little over the heads for the target 2 and up audience, and in the back cover, we have some safety tips for talking on the phone and a special page for keeping your secret word, which Teddy will cover at the end of the video. It also includes a list of the other VHS releases for Yes Teddy: Guests of the Grunges, Escape from the Treacherous Mountains, Take a Good Look, Grubby's Romance, Come Dream With Me Tonight, and Tweed Gets the Tweezels. The original High Tops line had about a dozen videos, so you're getting about half that here, but with the added bonus of some interaction from Teddy in each video. Okay, now to the technical stuff. In the box, you get 5 cables, 2 standard yellow RCA composite video cables, 2 red composite right channel audio cables, and a special cable that gets attached to the special Teddy port on both the TV pack and Teddy himself. If you're familiar with any kind of home theater setup, you'll notice there's no white audio cable, and that's most likely because the white cable was used for the left channel audio, which I'm guessing is the channel sending the animation signals to Teddy. It was generous of Yes to include these cables in the box, especially considering none of them are proprietary and could easily be swapped out for Radio Shack replacements. But I'm sure they didn't want to frustrate parents by making them go out and buy more cables just to get their new investment working, so they threw it all in one box. Now, you might be tempted to think that the black cable, which I'll simply call the Teddy port cable going forward, is proprietary and similar to the Teddy Grubby connector cable from Worlds of Wonder, but you'll be happy to know that it's not. In fact, this is just a typical run-of-the-mill stereo audio cable, so if you didn't get one in the box, you can run down to Best Buy or Radio Shack and get an easy replacement. Just make sure it's a long cable. The one that comes with the TV video pack is a whopping 12 feet long. Why 12 feet? Well, despite all the wires running to and from the box, you actually won't be getting any sound from your television. All the sound will come from Teddy himself. That's not a problem for most people, but yes, Teddy doesn't have quite the range of volume that his ancestors did, even on his highest setting. He's very quiet, even in a room with very little noise to drown him out. For the purpose of this demo, I had to put a microphone on him just so I could hear everything. The 12-foot cable was clearly supplied so that Teddy could sit on the couch alongside the child so they could hear him, with the added benefit of being able to cuddle him while they watched. Next, we have what Yes Entertainment calls the Teddy Ruxpin Talk Box. This is where the magic happens. Without getting too technical, it's basically a hub for all your equipment. Your VCR plugs into it, and then the talk box sends the signal out to Teddy and your TV. I don't know how else to describe this box except to say that it's very 90s. From the gray color of the box that was sweeping the nation in everything from computers to game consoles to the big red button on the front, this thing just screams Nintendo. There is no off switch on the talk box. In fact, I give Yes a lot of credit for designing the box so that it turns off automatically after a certain amount of time has passed without a signal being sent to or from the box itself. That probably saved a lot of parents and children the frustration of having to replace the batteries every time because they forgot to turn it off when they were done. Finally, we have the tape itself, The Treasure of Grundo. As you can see, the box art matches Yes's move to primary colors with a dominant blue and very obvious text. There's no way you can mistake it for one of the original High Tops releases. They even keep the same cover art. Luckily for Yes, the map of Grundo is covering most of Teddy's body, so there was no need to alter his clothing to match the red shirt and blue pants worn by the doll itself. There is something strange, however, about watching Teddy on screen wearing something completely different from Teddy in the room. The back of the box gives us a summary of the story, as well as a look at some of the other tapes that were released. If you own the High Tops release, you know what to expect story-wise, as the arc has remained virtually unchanged. You're basically looking at 3 of the first 5 episodes of the series, from The Treasure of Grundo to The Fortress of the Wizard. You'll even get the live Teddy introduction and epilogue. Just like the 80s releases, Guests of the Grunges and Escape from the Treacherous Mountains have been given their own individual releases, so you'll want to pick those up if you want to experience the entire arc of the story. While the story hasn't changed, the format has been tweaked. I should mention that the tape can be played in any VCR without the talk box attached. You'll still hear Teddy's comments, just without seeing the toy spring to life. At a couple of points, Teddy actually freezes the frame to make a particular point or introduce a character. And at one point, in the middle of Beware of the Mudblops, he actually does a quick PowerPoint-like flashback to recount the story so far. This all happens anytime the tape is played. It's just a matter of whether or not Teddy the doll is there to take on those roles. There are some truly great moments here for fans of the toy and show. Watching Teddy sing his own theme song or comment on some truly iconic scenes is a real treat. I especially got a kick out of Teddy singing along with the Gatang March in the Hard-to-Find City. Having said that, if you're looking to simply experience the episode as it aired, this is probably not the tape for you. There are points where Teddy actually talks over the dialogue or action, and while the freeze frames were interesting from a novelty perspective, it does tend to slow the story down, accounting for the tape's almost 70-minute runtime. If you're looking for the best way to experience the adventures of Teddy Ruxpin, I highly recommend hunting down a DVD copy while they can be found. The picture quality is far superior, and you'll get all 65 episodes to binge at your leisure. So, how do we set all this up? Let's take a look. First, we're going to make sure everything's got power, so we'll start with the basics and install the batteries. If you have any post-Worlds of Wonder Teddy, this should be pretty familiar. Teddy's battery door is protected by a single Phillips head screw, so you'll have to loosen that before inserting the required 4 AA batteries. Inside the battery bay is a guide to show you which way each battery should face, alternating from down to up as you work your way across. Once the batteries are in, go ahead and replace the battery door and screw. If you're lucky enough to have a spare Yes-era cassette, go ahead and pop it in to give Teddy a test run, making sure his eyes and mouth work. You won't actually need the cassette tape in his back for the TV pack to work, and Yes's instructions actually recommend you remove it to avoid any interference. Next, we'll install the batteries in the talk box. You'll need a total of 6 AA's for this bad boy. The battery door is on the bottom opposite the New World of Teddy Ruxpin logo, and the door is secured by 2 Phillips head screws. Go ahead and loosen those and remove the door. Inside, you should see an embossed outline in each slot indicating which way the batteries are supposed to face. If that indicator has worn off, look at the springs. The bottom of the battery should be facing the spring, and just like Teddy, they alternate back and forth as you go across. Go ahead and install the 6 batteries, then replace the door to the battery compartment and retighten the 2 screws until they're nice and snug. You can test the talk box before hooking everything up by pressing the big red button on the front and watching to make sure the red indicator light turns on. If that doesn't happen, try reseating some of the batteries and make sure they are a fresh batch. If you happen to have a compatible power adapter, try using that instead. Next, let's try to make sense of this mess of cables. The first thing you'll want to do is separate the cables into 3 groups. The first 2 groups should each have 1 yellow cable and 1 red cable. The third group should be the Teddy port cable by itself. We'll connect that one last. Make sure to watch closely so that all the cable ends are connected to the proper ports, or this will not work. This can get a little confusing, but think about it logically. We need the signal to come out of the VCR and into the talk box. Then we need the talk box to go out to the TV and the Teddy port. First, grab one end of a yellow video cable and plug it into the yellow video out port on the back of your VCR. Make sure you're connecting to video out and not video in. We need the signal going out to the talk box. Next, connect the other end of the yellow video cable to the video in port on the talk box. This is the first port going from left to right on the talk box. Next, we'll take one end of the red audio cable and plug it into the red audio out port on your VCR. Again, make sure this is an audio out port, not audio in. Use the other end of the red audio cable to connect to the audio in port on the talk box. This is the third port going from left to right on the talk box. Now, grab the second yellow video cable and connect it to the video out port on the talk box, the second port going from left to right. Connect the other end of this cable to the video in port on your TV. A quick note here for those of you with newer televisions, some new TVs have component inputs instead of composite. You'll know if you do because the ports will be green, blue, and red instead of one yellow port. If that's the case, don't worry, this will still work. Just plug the yellow cable into the green port on your television. Ignore the blue and red ports completely. Finally, we'll connect the last audio cable. Plug one end of the red audio cable into the audio out port on the talk box. This is the fourth port going from left to right on the talk box. Use the other end to connect to an audio in jack on your television. Remember, you need to use the red audio jack on your television. If you have component inputs, be careful not to confuse the red video input with the red audio input. If the ports are not labeled clearly, consult your TV's manual to see which is which. If you're plugged into the wrong port, this won't work. Okay, we're almost there. Now we need to connect the Teddy port cable to the talk box and Teddy himself. Unlike the other audio and video cables, the Teddy port is on the front of the talk box next to the big red button. It should fit easily. Now, turn Teddy around and locate the matching Teddy port in the lower left corner of his back. The label can be hard to read, but the cable will only fit in one place, so don't try to force it. Now that all our cables are connected, go ahead and turn on your VCR and your TV. You may need to switch your TV's input source to match the input you attach the cables to. For example, if your cable box is plugged into input 1, you may need to switch to input 2 if that's where your cables are plugged in. Consulting your TV's manual can help with this. You'll know you're on the right input if you can see your VCR's standby screen, which is usually just a big blue background. Finally, hit the big red button on the front of the talk box to turn it on. You may hear a slight popping sound coming from Teddy, indicating he is now getting a signal. Once everything is set up, it's time to grab some popcorn, pop in the tape, and get comfy as Teddy takes us in search of the treasure of Grundo.
La 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 la. Oh, hi. Are you ready to go on an adventure? Yes, so am I. We've got a great adventure coming up, so get ready to join me, Teddy Ruxpin. Hey, that's me. Oh, hi. How are you? I'm Teddy Ruxpin. Do you all know this song? Come on, sing along. Come dream with me tonight. Let's go to far-off places and search for treasures bright. Welcome to one of my first and most exciting adventures, the treasure of Grundo. Let's watch it together. Wait! Stop the tape! Thank you. That's Newton Gimmick. I think you'll like him. You see, Gimmick is an amazing inventor who dreams up all kinds of wonderful things. He carries lots of tools and gadgets around in his apron, so he can solve a problem right on the spot. On this particular day, Gimmick was out gathering firewood for his newest invention, a wonderful airship. Okay, ready? Roll the tape.
These branches will make excellent firewood. Here's a good one. A great adventure. Well, tell me all about it.
Well, it all started when I found this map. Whoops, I shouldn't have said anything about the map. That bounder LB heard what I said. You see, the map is really a treasure map leading to the treasure of Grundo. No one really knows what the treasure is, but LB's boss, Tweeg, is sure he'll be rich if he ever finds it. And that could mean trouble for my friends and me.
All I asked you to do was drive Gimmick out of the valley. Oh, can't you do anything? Will you speak up? I can't understand a word you're saying.
Very well. Start putting some wood into the stove while I go and get some supplies. Let's see. We'll need the vertical disseminator, the solar distributor.
These bounders never learn.
The calibrating stub, the
Gimmick.
astronomical simplifier,
Gimmick.
the hyperbolic modifying unit.
Gimmick, not the
and
treasure
some
map.
Berry muffins.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
A treasure map. You found a treasure map. Ha ha! The treasure of Grundo will be mine at last.
oh no, that's just what I'm afraid of.
You're welcome, Twink.
Hold it. Hold everything. Do you think Tweeg and the Bounders are smart enough to get to the hard-to-find city and find the treasure? Don't you think that Gimmick will notice that the map is missing? I sure hope he does. Let's find out what Tweeg is planning. Okay, let's go. How do you steer this thing, Gimmick?
I never thought about that.
Well, you better start thinking fast, Gimmick, because we're heading for that big tree over there.
Hang on, everybody! Whoa! We should have been wearing our seat belts. Stop right there. Now you're about to meet another amazing friend of mine. She's Leota, the Wood Sprite. She's very small, but very brave. And we've had lots of adventures together. You're about to see just how we met for the very first time. Let's go.
Just what do you
discover the world with me. There are lots of people we can meet, lots of things to see. So come and discover the world with me. It's a world full of wonders, and it's here for you and me.
Now, Grubby, nothing is difficult when you set your mind to it.
Especially if you sing a song while you're doing it. It makes the work go a whole lot faster.
Sing along. Dig, 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 dig.
I guess this is what they call work.
It isn't all that bad. In an hour or two, when the work is through, just think of what we'll have.
I've searched every corner of these underground tunnels, and there's no way out. No, gentlemen, I'm afraid we're here for the rest of our lives.
Boy, how did we get ourselves into this mess? Let me see. Grubby and I headed off to find the treasure of Grundo. We met some interesting creatures along the way, and an interesting person called Newton Gimmick. Then, oh yes, we had some cannonballs fired at us, and we had our map stolen, which got us terribly lost in Gimmick's airship. Then Leota the Wood Sprite helped us. But when we ran out of fuel, we crashed in the great desert and ran into some nasty creatures. Okay, now I remember how we got ourselves into this mess. Let's see what happens next.